So the gray rhino is the big scary thing coming right at you. It's 2 tons, it's got a horn, it's coming your way, and it gives you a choice of what to do. You get trampled, you get out of the way, or you use its strength. It's a metaphor for the difference between the people who see something scary coming and deal with it and the ones who don't, and a reminder that we're not nearly as good as we think at dealing with the obvious things in front of us. Well, the black swan is the thing that's so unmanageable, unforeseeable, unpredictable that you can't even identify it until it shows up. You can only see it behind you. You can't see it in front of you. And the gray rhino is the thing that you see in front of you. It gives you a choice to respond. It's also related to another very large gray animal, the elephant in the room, which by definition nobody does or says anything about. It's often something kind of embarrassing, uncomfortable, like an elephant in the room would be, but people assume it's just going to stand there and that's going to be okay. The gray rhino is something that some people are doing something about, some people, many people probably are talking about, but only some people deal with it. It's dynamic, it's moving, it's coming towards you, and it gives you a choice. The first thing to remember about a gray rhino is that you don't need somebody else to tell you what it is. It's right in front of you. By recognizing that you might not be as good as dealing with the obvious as you think, you have the power. By recognizing your vulnerability to gray rhinos, you are more likely to become one of the people who deals with it or not. So the first thing is recognize your vulnerability, take a fresh look at the things in front of you. And in the book, The Gray Rhino, I have a 5-stage framework that describes how one of these gray rhinos moves as it moves forward. And most importantly, it describes how people, how humans respond at each of these 5 stages. And at each stage, there are different obstacles and there are different opportunities and strategies for moving ahead. So by understanding your response, the response of your organization, of policymakers, of the people around you, you can better come up with a strategy to move from denying the existence of the animal to acting in such a way that you not only get yourselves out of the way, but you hopefully create something good out of recognizing its existence. When I was writing The Gray Rhino, the first thing that came to mind was climate change. And unfortunately, it's still a big problem. It's a lot closer. You might even say it's on top of us already, and there are more climate change rhinos right behind it. It's getting faster and bigger and scarier. I also work a lot on financial crisis, financial fragilities, and that's actually where the concept came from the difference between the Argentinian and the Greek debt crises. So right now we're living in a world where we've had very, very low interest rates, lots of very loose monetary policy for a while. That's a lot of what's created the inflation much of the world is facing, and central banks and other policymakers are now having to try to correct for it too little too late, and that is going to blow many of these financial fragilities open, whether it's too much debt or asset bubbles or real estate bubbles, part of the asset bubble world. There are a lot of big scary things coming down the road for policymakers, for businesses, for investors, and for every single one of us to prepare for. There's so many parts of the finance world that each part has its own part to play. Long-term investors, I think, are best placed to deal with gray rhinos, not just in front of us, but down the road. People who are investing in mutual funds, in other sets of assets, should take the long view when they're putting their money in and think about what's going to be the best outcome, not just for tomorrow, but down the road. You might save some money right now, or you might make an extra buck on a quick investment, but down the road, you're going to lose that money if it's not sustainable and if it doesn't go forward. So there are lots and lots of new investment vehicles that are available, whether it's impact investing to help to support new clean technologies to deal with climate change, to support education, to support infrastructure, to invest in things that also are going to meet very, very serious needs. Not just the sort of need for a new blouse or new shoes, which I get, and you can certainly have enough of those, but the longer term needs of you, of your children, of your community, and of your planet.